Maya stood in the marble lobby of Hartwell Industries, her hands trembling as she clutched the small purse her mother had lent her. At 19, she looked even younger in her borrowed dress, a simple navy shift that had seen better days. Around her, executives in $1,000 suits moved with purpose, their shoes clicking against imported Italian tile. She was here to meet her future husband, Alexander Hartwell, 50 years old, CEO of one of Manhattan's largest investment firms. Her father's last hope. The medical bills had destroyed them. Her mother's cancer treatment, experimental and expensive, had drained every account, mortgaged their home, buried them in debt that grew like a malignant tumor of its own. Then Alexander's lawyer had called with an offer that sounded like something from another century. Marriage, 1 year. In exchange, all debts paid. Her mother's treatment continued at the country's best facility and a trust fund that would secure Maya's future long after the arrangement ended. "Why me?" she'd asked the lawyer. "Mr. Hartwell has his reasons. He requires a wife for business purposes, nothing more." Now, riding the elevator to the 47th floor, Maya tried to steady her breathing. The doors opened to reveal an office that seemed to float above the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Manhattan like a living photograph, and there, silhouetted against that vast urban landscape, stood Alexander Hartwell. He turned as she entered. Silver hair, sharp features, eyes that held depths of sadness she hadn't expected. He wore his expensive suit like armor, but something in his expression cracked when he saw her. "Miss Chen," he said quietly, "thank you for coming. I know this must seem impossible to understand." Maya lifted her chin, finding courage somewhere deep inside. "My mother is dying, Mr. Hartwell. I understand perfectly." "Then you should know the truth," Alexander said, moving toward his desk. "Before you agree to anything, you need to know exactly what you're walking into." Chapter 2. The Truth. Alexander gestured to the leather chair across from his desk. Maya sat, feeling small in the vast office. He poured 2 glasses of water from a crystal decanter, his hands steady, despite what he was about to reveal. "I'm dying," he said simply, sitting across from her. "Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. The doctors give me 6 months, maybe 8 with aggressive treatment." Maya's breath caught. Whatever she'd expected, it wasn't this. "My company is worth $3 billion. I built it from nothing over 30 years. Alexander's voice remained calm, clinical. "When I die, control passes to my business partner, Richard Morrison, unless I have a surviving spouse. The marriage clause in our original partnership agreement, I wrote it decades ago, never thinking it would matter. Why does it matter now? Because Morrison is corrupt. He's been embezzling for years, hiding it brilliantly in offshore accounts and shell corporations. I only discovered it 6 months ago." Alexander opened a file on his desk, revealing pages of financial documents. "He's stolen over $400 million. If he gains full control, he'll strip the company for parts and disappear, leaving 3,000 employees without jobs or pensions." Maya stared at the documents, trying to process. "Why not go to the authorities?" "I have. They're investigating, but these things take time. Years, potentially. Time I don't have." He met her eyes. "But if I die married, my spouse inherits controlling interest. Morrison can't touch it. And I'll have left behind evidence, instructions, resources to help prosecutors build an airtight case. So I'd be, what? A placeholder? A guardian? A protector of something good that shouldn't die with me?" Alexander leaned forward. "Maya, I'm not asking for a real marriage. Separate bedrooms, complete privacy. Just a legal arrangement that saves what I've built and, incidentally, saves your mother. In return, you'll never have financial worries again." The room felt airless. Maya looked at this dying stranger offering her an impossible choice. "How long do I have to decide?" "Take 3 days," Alexander said gently. "But Maya, if you say yes, there's something else you need to know about what really happened to my daughter." Chapter 3. The Daughter. Maya returned 3 days later, her decision made but her heart still uncertain. Alexander met her not in his office, but in a quiet conference room. A photo album open on the table between them. Her name was Sophie, he began, touching a photograph of a laughing teenage girl with dark curls and her father's sharp eyes. She was 17, brilliant, planning to study architecture at Columbia. Past tense. Maya felt the grief radiating from him. 2 years ago, Sophie discovered Morrison's embezzlement. She was interning in the accounting department that summer, noticed discrepancies. Alexander's jaw tightened. She came to me excited, thinking she'd found a mistake she could help fix. We started investigating together. He turned the page. Sophie at a protest march, hair wild in the wind. Sophie with friends, head thrown back in laughter. Sophie alive. Morrison found out, I don't know how. Maybe I wasn't careful enough. Maybe Sophie mentioned it to the wrong person. Alexander's voice cracked. She was driving home from a friend's house. Single-car accident on a clear night, on a road she'd driven hundreds of times. The police called it driver error. She died instantly. You think he... I know he did, but I can't prove it, just like I can't prove the embezzlement quickly enough. Alexander closed the album with shaking hands. That's what this is really about, Maya. Yes, I'm dying. Yes, the company needs protection. But mostly, I need Sophie's death to mean something. I need Morrison to face justice for what he took from me. Maya looked at this broken man carrying impossible weight. You want me to help you get revenge. I want you to help me get justice. There's a difference. He met her eyes. But I'll understand if it's too much. If you walk away right now, I'll still pay your mother's medical bills. You have my word. Maya thought of her mother, fighting for every breath, of Sophie, whose future was stolen, of 3,000 employees who had no idea their livelihoods hung in balance. Where do I sign? Chapter 4. The Wedding. They married on a Thursday afternoon in a judge's chambers downtown. No guests, no flowers, no pretense of romance. Just legal witnesses, paperwork, and 2 people entering a partnership built on desperation and dying wishes. Alexander slipped a simple platinum band onto Maya's finger. It felt heavier than gold, weighted with obligation. The judge pronounced them husband and wife, without flourish. No one suggested they kiss. Afterward, Alexander's driver took them to a penthouse apartment in Tribeca, Alexander's private residence, separate from the corporate housing. The space was modern and cold, all glass and steel and carefully curated art that revealed nothing about the man who lived there. Your room is down this hall, Alexander said, carrying her single suitcase himself despite her protests. Private bathroom, walk-in closet. I've arranged for a stylist to bring appropriate clothes tomorrow. You'll need them for the announcement. Announcement? We're hosting a reception this Saturday. Investors, board members, key employees. Morrison will be there. Alexander set down her suitcase, suddenly looking exhausted. We need to appear happily married, convincingly married. Can you do that? Maya thought of her mother, already responding to treatment at Sloan Kettering, color returning to her cheeks. I can do whatever you need. That night, alone in her new bedroom with its view of the city lights, Maya tried to process how completely her life had changed in 72 hours, from community college student working double shifts at a diner to the wife of a billionaire, from nobody to somebody with a target on her back. Because if Morrison had killed once to protect his secrets, what would he do when he discovered this marriage? A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Alexander stood in the doorway, holding a thick folder. If we're going to do this, he said quietly, you need to know everything about the company, about Morrison, about what's coming. And Maya, I need you to promise me something. If this gets dangerous, if Morrison suspects, you run immediately. Promise me. Maya took the folder, feeling its weight. I promise I'll think about it. It wasn't the answer Alexander wanted, but it was the only honest one she had. Chapter 5. The Reception. The ballroom glittered with Manhattan's elite. Maya stood beside Alexander in a dress that cost more than her family's monthly rent used to. Her hair professionally styled, makeup applied by an artist who'd worked on magazine covers. She looked the part of a billionaire's wife. She felt like an imposter. Smile, Alexander murmured, his hand resting lightly on her lower back. Morrison's watching. Maya found him across the room, tall, handsome in that silver fox way, radiating charm as he worked the crowd. Richard Morrison looked like someone's beloved uncle, not a thief and possible murderer. Guest after guest congratulated them, barely hiding their shock at Alexander's young bride. Maya endured the sideways glances, the poorly concealed whispers. She played her part perfectly, gazing at Alexander with practiced adoration, laughing at appropriate moments, telling the story they'd rehearsed about meeting at a charity gala. Then Morrison approached, champagne glass in hand, smile wide and empty. "Alex! And this must be the blushing bride." He took Maya's hand, holding it too long. "Richard Morrison, Alex's oldest friend and partner. I must say you've surprised us all." Alexander always claimed he'd married his work. "Maya changed my mind about many things," Alexander said smoothly, pulling her closer. The possessive gesture looked natural, but Maya felt the tension in his body. Clearly, Morrison's eyes traveled over Maya in assessment. "Tell me, my dear, how did you two meet? Alexander's been so mysterious about the whole whirlwind romance." This was the test. Maya knew it, felt it in Morrison's calculating stare. She smiled, channeling every romantic movie she'd ever seen. "I spilled coffee on him at a cafe in Brooklyn, completely ruined his suit. I was mortified, couldn't stop apologizing. He just laughed and asked me to dinner to make up for it." "How charming," Morrison said flatly. "Brooklyn, I didn't know you ventured that far from Midtown, Alex. Love makes us do unexpected things." Alexander raised his glass. "To new beginnings." Morrison lifted his own glass, but his smile had frozen. "To new beginnings, and to old partnerships. Let's hope nothing changes too much." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Chapter 6. The Investigation. Maya discovered Alexander's illness was accelerating faster than anyone had predicted. She'd find him in his home office at 3 a.m., hunched over financial documents, coughing into handkerchiefs that came away spotted with blood. He refused to slow down, driven by the ticking clock only he could hear. "You need to rest," she said one night, bringing him tea he wouldn't drink. "I need to finish mapping Morrison's network. Look at this." Alexander spread papers across his desk, bank statements, wire transfers, shell company registrations. He's not working alone. Someone in accounting is helping him, has to be. The timing of these transfers, the way they're hidden, it requires internal access. Maya studied the documents. Her community college accounting class is suddenly relevant. These dates, they cluster around quarterly reports. Alexander looked at her with surprise and approval. "You see it too. When everyone's focused on preparing statements, Morrison moves money. Whoever's helping him has access to the reporting system." Over the following weeks, Maya became Alexander's unlikely partner in investigation. She learned to read corporate documents, understand offshore banking, recognize patterns in financial crimes. Alexander taught her everything, treating her like an equal rather than the child bride everyone assumed she was. "Why me?" Maya asked one evening after a particularly long session. "If you needed help, you could have hired investigators, forensic accountants." "I did. But Morrison owns people. Police, investigators, even some federal agents. Anyone I hire officially, he monitors." Alexander leaned back, exhausted. "You're my secret weapon. No one takes you seriously. They see a teenage trophy wife, dismiss you as irrelevant. It gives us an advantage." Maya should have been offended. Instead, she felt empowered. Underestimated was exactly where she wanted to be. "Then let's use it," she said, an idea forming. "Morrison thinks I'm decorative and stupid. What if I got close to his wife? Society lunches, charity events, women talk." Alexander studied her, seeing something he hadn't expected. "You're not what I thought you'd be, Maya Chen. Neither are you, Alexander Hartwell." Outside, the city sprawled beneath them, full of secrets waiting to be exposed. Chapter 7. The Wife. Patricia Morrison lived in a world of careful perfection. Her Tribeca townhouse was featured in Architectural Digest. Her charity work graced society pages. Her marriage appeared flawless from the outside. Maya saw the cracks immediately. "You're so sweet to accept my lunch invitation," Patricia said, her smile tight as she poured tea in her immaculate living room. "I know it must be overwhelming, suddenly being thrust into our world." "Everyone's been very welcoming," Maya lied smoothly. "Have they?" Patricia's laugh was bitter. "Darling, you're 19 and married to a man older than your father. They're tolerating you because Alexander's powerful. Don't mistake politeness for acceptance." The honesty surprised Maya. She adjusted her approach, dropping some of her own careful facade. "You're right, it's lonely." Something shifted in Patricia's expression. "It is, isn't it? Being married to men like ours, always working, always strategizing. Sometimes I wonder if Richard remembers I exist beyond the photo opportunities." Over the next several weeks, Maya cultivated the relationship carefully. Lunches became regular. Patricia, starved for genuine connection, opened up gradually. She complained about Richard's long hours, his mysterious business trips, his distraction. "He's been worse lately," Patricia confided over their fifth lunch. "Stressed about something at work, won't tell me what. Men and their secrets." Maya's pulse quickened. Alexander's the same way, closeted in his office all hours. "At least yours doesn't disappear for days at a time." Patricia's voice dropped. "Richard's been traveling constantly. Geneva, Cayman Islands, Singapore. Always business meetings that can't be rescheduled." Maya filed away every detail, every date, every destination. That evening, she presented them to Alexander, who mapped them against Morrison's financial transactions. The correlation was perfect. "He's moving money in person," Alexander said, his eyes bright with the first real hope Maya had seen. "Avoiding electronic trails, but if we can track his travel against these transfers, we can prove he's personally involved," Maya finished. "Not just negligent oversight, but active theft." Alexander looked at her with something approaching admiration. "You're good at this, dangerously good." Maya thought of Sophie, dead at 17, of her mother, alive because of this arrangement. "I'm motivated." Chapter 8. The Collapse. Alexander collapsed during a board meeting on a Wednesday afternoon. Maya got the call from his assistant, her voice panicked and professional simultaneously. By the time Maya reached the hospital, Alexander was in emergency surgery, internal bleeding, complications from the cancer that was eating him alive. Morrison appeared in the waiting room with disturbing speed, as if he'd been monitoring the situation. "Maya, this must be terrifying for you. So young, possibly about to be widowed." The false sympathy made her skin crawl. "He'll be fine." "Of course. But if he's not..." Morrison sat beside her, too close. "You should know I'm here to help. With the company, the estate, all those complicated matters you couldn't possibly understand. I understand more than you think." Morrison's smile hardened. "Do you? Has Alexander been filling your pretty head with his paranoid theories, his accusations?" So he knew, or suspected. Maya felt ice in her veins. "I don't know what you mean." "Smart girl, keep it that way." Morrison stood, adjusting his cufflinks casually. "Alexander's dying, Maya. Sooner or later, probably sooner now. When it happens, you'll need allies, friends who can guide you through the complexities of inheriting a multi-billion-dollar company. Think about it." He left before Maya could respond, his threat disguised as an offer echoing in her ears. Alexander survived the surgery, but barely. When he finally woke 3 days later, he looked diminished in the hospital bed, the powerful CEO reduced to a dying man connected to machines that beeped his mortality. "Morrison visited," Maya told him quietly. "He knows we're investigating." Alexander's hand found hers, weak but determined. "Then we're running out of time faster than I thought." Maya listened carefully. "In my office safe, combination is Sophie's birthday, the full date. Inside is everything. Evidence, instructions, contacts. If I die before we expose him..." "You're not dying yet." "When I die," Alexander corrected gently, "you finish this. Promise me. Promise me. Sophie's death won't be for nothing." Maya squeezed his hand. This man who'd given her power she never asked for, but now refused to surrender. "I promise. But you're going to help me do it. You're not giving up." Chapter 9. The revelation. Alexander returned home but weakened considerably. The doctors had been blunt. Weeks, not months. Maya watched him struggle through meetings conducted from the penthouse, his brilliant mind trapped in a failing body. She took over more responsibilities, surprising everyone, including herself, with her competence. Morrison grew bolder, scheduling board meetings Alexander couldn't attend, making decisions that slowly consolidated his own power. He stopped pretending to care about Alexander's health, his true nature emerging like rot beneath polished veneer. Then Patricia called Maya, her voice shaking. "We need to meet, today, not at my house, somewhere public." They met at a busy cafe in Midtown. Patricia looked terrible. Makeup unable to hide the sleepless nights, expensive clothes hanging on a frame that had lost weight from stress. "I found something," Patricia whispered, sliding a folder across the table. "Richard has a safe in his study. I've never opened it before, never had reason to. But last night, he was drunk, sloppy. I saw the combination." Maya opened the folder. Inside were bank statements, property deeds, passports with Richard's photo under different names. And something else, a thick envelope addressed to Alexander, never sent. "What's in it?" Maya asked. "A confession." Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "He killed Sophie Hartwell. He's admitting it, writing out every detail like he needs to preserve it somehow. The car wasn't tampered with. He ran her off the road in his own vehicle, made it look like she lost control." The cafe seemed to tilt around Maya. Here, finally, was the proof Alexander needed, the justice Sophie deserved. "Why are you giving this to me?" "Because I can't live with a monster." Patricia wiped her eyes angrily. "I've suspected for years that Richard was corrupt, but I told myself it was just business. Everyone cuts corners. But this, murder, he killed a child and he kept a trophy of it like some serial killer." Maya's hands trembled as she held the evidence. "He'll come after you if he realizes. I'm already gone. I filed divorce papers this morning and moved into my sister's house in Connecticut. I'm done being his perfect wife." Patricia stood, gathering her coat. "Get him, Maya. Make sure that bastard dies in prison where he belongs." Chapter 10. The Confrontation. They brought the evidence to the FBI instead of the regular police. Alexander's contacts, agents Morrison hadn't compromised. Within 48 hours, federal warrants were issued. Maya wasn't there when they arrested Morrison at his office, led him out in handcuffs past shocked employees and cameras that would broadcast his fall to the world. But she was there when Alexander watched the news coverage from his hospital bed, tears streaming down his face, tears of relief, of grief released, of justice finally served. "Sophie," he whispered, staring at the ceiling. "Baby girl, we got him." The evidence proved overwhelming. Patricia's documents, combined with Alexander's years of financial investigation, painted a portrait of systematic fraud and cold-blooded murder. Morrison's empire collapsed in days, assets frozen, accounts seized, accomplices arrested. Alexander died 6 days later, peacefully in his sleep with Maya holding his hand. They'd spent those final days not talking about business or Morrison or Sophie's death, but about life, his memories of building the company from nothing, his love for his daughter, his gratitude for Maya's unexpected partnership. "You gave me purpose at the end," he told her the night before he died. "More than that, you gave me justice. I can let go now. I wouldn't have survived this year without you," Maya replied honestly. "You taught me I was stronger than I knew." Alexander smiled. "You always were. You just needed someone to see it first." The funeral was massive. Business leaders, employees, people whose lives Alexander had touched. Maya stood by his grave in the designer black dress that no longer felt borrowed, accepting condolences from strangers. She was a 19-year-old widow, the sole inheritor of a multi-billion-dollar company, and somehow she'd become the person Alexander always believed she could be. Morrison sent a message from jail through his lawyer, a threat, a promise of revenge from behind bars. Maya had the lawyer escorted out by security. She'd already won. The rest was just noise. Chapter 11. The Legacy. 6 months after Alexander's death, Maya stood in front of Hartwell Industries' board of directors, presenting her plan for the company's future. She was 20 now, no longer the frightened teenager who'd agreed to a desperate arrangement. The board watched her with a mixture of respect and wariness, unsure what to make of their unlikely leader. "Alexander built this company on integrity," Maya began, her voice steady. "Morrison's corruption nearly destroyed it. My goal isn't to run this company forever. I'm not qualified, and I'm honest enough to admit it. My goal is to preserve what Alexander created and modernize how we operate." She outlined her vision, promoting from within, establishing employee ownership programs, creating oversight structures that would prevent another Morrison from emerging. She'd learned from Alexander's mistakes, from the vulnerabilities that had allowed corruption to flourish. The board voted to approve her proposals unanimously. As they filed out, the CFO, a woman in her 50s who'd known Alexander for years, approached Maya. "He chose well," she said simply. "You're not what any of us expected, but you're exactly what this company needed." Maya's mother, cancer-free now and strong, waited outside the boardroom. They'd moved her to Manhattan to be closer to Maya, into an apartment that didn't require choosing between medication and rent. "How'd it go?" her mother asked, pulling Maya into a hug. "I didn't embarrass myself, so that's progress." They laughed together, this relationship healing slowly from the desperation that had nearly destroyed it. Her mother didn't pretend to understand Maya's new life. The wealth, the responsibility, the complexity of inheriting a corporate empire. But she understood her daughter had survived something impossible and emerged transformed. That evening, Maya visited Alexander's grave alone, placing fresh flowers beside Sophie's headstone nearby. Father and daughter reunited in death, their justice secured. "Morrison was sentenced today," Maya told them quietly. 25 years for fraud, life without parole for Sophie's murder. It's over. The cemetery was peaceful, the city noise distant. Maya stood there thinking about the strange year that had changed everything, how desperation had led to an arrangement that became a partnership that became something approaching family. Chapter 12. The Future. 1 year after marrying Alexander Hartwell, Maya stood in front of Columbia University's architecture building, staring at the bronze plaque dedicated to Sophie Hartwell. The scholarship fund Maya had established in Sophie's name would send 50 students through the architecture program, keeping Sophie's dream alive in others. Maya was 20 now, attending business school part-time while managing the trust that controlled her shares in Hartwell Industries. She'd appointed experienced executives to run daily operations, keeping her role strategic rather than operational. She was learning to wield power rather than being overwhelmed by it. Her phone buzzed, a message from Patricia Morrison, now Patricia Reed again. Having reclaimed her maiden name, they'd become unlikely friends, two women who'd survived the wreckage of Richard Morrison's ambitions. "Coffee next week? I have news," Maya smiled, typing back her acceptance. Life had stabilized into something resembling normal, though her definition of normal had fundamentally shifted. She'd gone from poverty to power, from nobody to somebody, from child to adult in the space of 12 months. Sometimes she wondered what would have happened if her father hadn't been desperate enough to make that call, if Alexander hadn't been dying and determined enough to propose his arrangement. Would she have finished community college, worked her way through a modest career, lived a simple life? But then she thought of her mother, alive and healthy, of Morrison, behind bars, of 3,000 employees still working because Alexander's company survived, of Sophie's scholarship students, building futures that might have been impossible otherwise. Alexander had given her power to shape her own destiny. She was using it to shape others as well. A young woman approached the Sophie Hartwell memorial plaque, touching it gently before entering the building. Future architect, scholarship recipient, dream made possible by tragedy transformed into purpose. Maya watched her go, feeling the weight of responsibility and the lightness of purpose in equal measure. She was 19 when she became the wife of a 50-year-old CEO. What she learned that night, about justice, integrity, and her own unexpected strength hadn't destroyed her. It had built her into someone who could carry his legacy forward while creating her own.